Range on hand cannons has become one of the most important stats for them to compete with both each other and the metagame in general inside of Destiny PvP. Today let's take a look at the top performers and the hand cannons which sit pretty closely to those godly Eyaslunas and Palindromes. When we look at the Eyasluna or the Palindrome, the standout thing about them is primarily their range capability. Both weapons start at a base 38 and 39 range respectively, but with the use of rifle barrel they can both hit range stats of 62, which is the maximum range you can achieve on these particular weapons. This range stat is important because firstly it will improve your effective range, by extension you'll see the least amount of damage drop off available, but secondly range stat reduces the bloom effect or spread of bullets from hand cannons, essentially making them more accurate across the board, which is why these ultra high range hand cannons are so popular. I may as well throw in that rifle barrel and reinforced barrel give you the same amount of bonus range, but reinforced barrel takes away a fair amount of stability, whereas rifle barrel only affects reload speeds, and that's why rifle barrel is the superior perk on essentially any type of hand cannon. With this in mind, there are some less talked about hand cannons with very good stats which can also achieve that high-end range capability as well. We'll focus primarily on the Eyasluna archetype or the 22 rate of fire and 81 impact hand cannons. First up is Imago Loop. This is the strike specific for the Undying Mind and the Echo Chamber strikes. You can roll rifle barrel on this hand cannon and combined with its base range, you'll be able to hit 62 range points on this weapon, which honestly I didn't even know was a thing until I looked this up. Seeing as this weapon has such great range, why don't we see more of it in PvP? Well, initially this weapon has a relatively low stability stat compared to Eyasluna, which is a contributing factor along with the slower equip speed, making the weapon less snappy in general. However, the main reason I can see is that it's just hard to get a good roll of this weapon. There are 40 plus bonuses that you can roll on this thing, which really dilutes your chance at getting a good roll. Nonetheless, if you do get a good roll, it's going to be a fairly competitive hand cannon. Some weapons to mention here would also be the old FWC hand cannon, the Fulcrum, which could also hit that max range stat but features a lower max size and generally poorer stats for PvP. Either way, if you do have one lying around, be sure to check out the rolls on that thing. Also, the Ace of Spades can hit the range stat of 62, but that's using reinforced barrel, which of course affects stability a lot. On top of this, it's a hunter exclusive weapon, so I'm not going to look any further into this one for the purposes of this video. Up next though, we have Finale's Peril. This is a pretty exceptional hand cannon. In terms of range, it has one less range point than the Eyasluna at base, so with rifle barrel you're going to see 61 of 62 possible range points, basically putting it up there with the best ranged hand cannons in the game. Compared to Imago Loop though, you do have a bit more base stability and a higher equip speed of 66 points, which is versus 60 on the Eyasluna, so it does handle very well. A big plus for Finale's Peril is also the aim assist stat of 71. This is the highest aim assist stat of any of the weapons we're looking at in this video. The weapon certainly feels quite sticky in terms of target acquisition, so it's all around very reliable. Again, the problem here is the massive pool of bonuses, making it fairly difficult to get great rolls. Also now, of course, you can't actually get this weapon dropped, so if you do have a god roll or even just a great roll of this weapon, you have one of the best hand cannons in the game, which at the same time is completely inaccessible, so that's pretty lucky. The Lord High Fixer is the next closest thing though, sharing incredibly close stats to the Finale's Peril across the board, but maxing out its range at a slightly lower 59 points, and that's using rifle barrel, so it's not quite as high, but still very good. This thing feels great to use though. For me, it's pretty equal to any of the other hand cannons in terms of handling, and you can pull some pretty great bonuses for PvP as well. The only way to get a Lord High Fixer though is through Crucible packages, so it's somewhat rare, and like Imago or Finale's Peril, the pool of bonuses is pretty sizable, so getting the perks that you want is tricky. It is however another top tier legendary option if you're looking at this kind of hand cannon. On the whole, these weapons are the best ranged hand cannons in the 22 rate of fire archetype. So in order of the highest range, we have the Palindrome and then the Eyasluna and Imago Loop, which can all hit the max range stat. Up next is the Finale's Peril, and finally the Lord High Fixer. These are essentially the top 5 hand cannons in this family for range, and generally feature stats which you'd consider important for PvP. To briefly mention the Ill Will or Lingering Song hand cannons, both of these weapons can hit the max range stat as well. Unfortunately, the exotic First Curse, which is also in this archetype, only hits a max range of 53, which is a fair amount lower, but with Ill Will or Lingering Song, you'll only need Hammerforged to hit 60 plus range points because their base range stats are so high. Generally, Hammerforged becomes better than Rifle Barrel on this archetype because it also grants more accuracy as well as range, and you don't have those reduced speeds for reload, which you'd see with Rifle Barrel. Also worth noting is that none of the 32 rate of fire hand cannons like the Exile Student or Stolen Pride can hit these range stats. The only single exotic which can hit this range stat is the Ace of Spades, which I mentioned. The Thorn, Hawkmoon, First Curse, and obviously the Last Word are left in the dust on this one. And that pretty much sums it up. I just wanted to break down which hand cannons can achieve this super high range capability because there are only a few weapons that sit in this bracket, but I also feel like a lot of players don't necessarily know which other hand cannons come close, so there you go. Let me know down below your best hand cannons and if you have any great rolls on the weapons in this list. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, then consider giving a thumbs up down below and subscribing to the channel if you're new to keep up with Destiny content. But for now, thanks a lot for watching guys, and you have a great day.